Let's bring in Immigration Attorney Allen Orr. He joins us now from the state of Tennessee. So we're looking at this legal battle between Texas and the U.S. government. I want to ask you about that. Do you think it could go all the way to the U.S. Supreme Court? And secondly, did those floating barriers actually make a difference at all in the numbers of people crossing into the United States?
Right. So first, I think we need to understand that the United States has a policy of federalism in which there is no individual state policy with regards to immigration or treaties with foreign nations. So even if this does, he can appeal to the Supreme Court. I doubt the Supreme Court will hear it. And recently, just in the last sessions of the Supreme Court sided with Biden on his enforcement of immigration. So that's a clear sign that if it does go to the Supreme Court, Texas is probably not going to be in a good suit. Furthermore, we don't want a bunch of different states with different immigration policies. So that's really already the problem that exists. A governor is not more powerful than a president with regards to the structure of our country. So that's number one. Number two, it wasn't effective in the first place. People were going around the barrier. It didn't protect anything. And that was really one of the problems. Beyond just not working effectively, it deterred some people. It probably did kill some people, but it did bring the numbers down tremendously. In addition, part of it was in Mexico's territory. So one of the things with regards to constructing this barrier was that he needed to go through a federal process, an administrative process to have it put in place. He did not follow that process. So administratively, he did not follow the law. So when we're talking about law and order, that governor didn't follow that law and order. So therefore, on those two counts, most likely the Supreme Court is not going to agree with him. And it didn't work towards immigration policy overall, because Texas in itself is not an island, and people can come just in from New Mexico or in Florida and make their way to Texas.
Right. I want to ask you about reports of this new migration wave at the U.S. Mexican border, 1,000 on the streets of Ciudad Juarez. From your perspective as an immigration attorney, what are you and your other colleagues experiencing in the past few months in terms of cases that you're seeing and the outreach with migrants?
Right. So from my perspective, I think it's really disheartening that we continue to call humanity issues a crisis, right? This isn't the first time there have been a large number of people who appear at our southern borders. And within the United States and around the world, we've seen a lot of migrants showing up because of global events that have happened because of the climate change, right? Fires and floods, which we've seen in our own country. So sort of treating individuals who are fleeing for their lives, be it because of the violence in the country or climate change, as problems that we know we can manage seems to not be in the best interest of any country. So one of the ways that we sort of keep ourselves are other individuals just saying we can't accept them, when in fact in the United States we know we have a low birth rate. We know that immigrants have been the building of our society regardless of what country or continent they come from. So this has just become an issue of saying they're taking something from us, when in fact there's a compromise to be made where we could have those immigrants come in and meet the workforce needs that we have, as well as the aging population, and even address some of the military shortages that we have. So I think we need to think about it differently when we sort of say it's a crisis. So we've always seen a lot of stuff at the border. So that's first point. Since I've been practicing immigration for 20 years, there have always been a lot of people at the border because they see the United States as a great opportunity. Some come here for the safety of asylum, others come here for work. We haven't revised our immigration laws in 30 years, so it's time for the United States to meet the call of what the public needs, to have temporary visas that they have or some other low-skill work visas rather than just these high-skill labor visas. So our problem is one of that we can fix is one of the system and management, not that the people are actually an issue.
All right, and Allen Orr, of course, this will continue, likely a big discussion as we head towards the next election. Thank you so much for joining us from Tennessee.
Thank you for having me.